Alrighty, I'm trying to get used to the idea of looking at the damn camera. Alright. I am Semper Hiley. I am a former Marine, 1371, combat engineer. Uh, and I am going to sort of react, but mostly respond and add to the Fatelectrician's video on the Miklik because I have a lot of experience with this particular system.
This is a Miklik. It is a rocket-propelled rope that is approximately 350 feet long and impregnated with 1,750 pounds of angry Play-Doh, aka C4, aka Uncle Sam's serious putty. Now, believe it or not, this is technically not a weapon. Miklik is the abbreviation that stands for Mine-Clearing Line Charge. At least that's what we're going to tell Geneva. So what's supposed to happen is that rocket takes off and it tows that immensely heavy rope through the air. Buh! Does that mean this is a tow missile? No. That's not what a tow missile is. We'll do those later. Anyways, it's going to pull that 1,750 pound rope of C4 through the air and it's going to land in a semi-straight-ish line. Once it lands, we're going to detonate it and it is going to clear a path that is approximately 10 feet wide in the length of a football field through literally fucking anything. Yeah, it's designed to clear a path through a minefield, but...
Alright. So, what our standard operating procedure is. When you see the rope get taut like that, that means it is laid down, all of that C4 in a line, and we have to cut the rope. Because at some point, we're going to have to drive. So we send the boot. I don't know what you call them in the Army, but we send the lowest ranking guy out there. Usually the guy who's never done it before. And we specifically say, when you cut the rope, do not touch the rope. Like, don't grab it for balance because it is super tight. That rope is being held in place by 1,750 pounds of danger putty. And we frequently do this with training tubs where instead of danger putty, it's just rubber. We still use the rocket. It still pulls the thing out of the tub the same way. Lays it out across the terrain. But somebody still has to get out and cut the rope. So, my last deployment, the last time I trained with this shit, we're like, PFC, do not touch the rope. Take your K-bar or whatever combat knife you have and cut the rope. We hear the whip crack of the rope snapping and the immediate scream because he got his hand too close and he's lucky he wasn't touching it, but it whipped his hand backwards. Because he had his hand over it for some dumbass reason. And when it went, it snapped his hand back. He was lucky it was only a sprain. Because there are stories of dudes losing their hands to this shit. He also said that he didn't even, saw. He just touched the edge of his K-bar to the rope, and it snapped. That's how much tension it had.
Portable man backpack version. Your injuries are not service related, but it is...
I asked if anyone has actually ever used this thing, and it turns out that everyone I talked to, the sergeants, staff sergeants, anyone... The only time they've ever seen this thing is that picture and the training manual where it shows this as a Miklik option. So, yeah, that thing may or may not exist outside of DARPA. Alright. So, I have never spectated the launch of one of these from the outside. I have always been in the AAV that the thing was being launched from.
Okay, now that the educational portion is done, the shit talk.
Alrighty. So our other standard operating procedure is we always train as if there was a misfire. By misfire, I mean like there's literally a button attached to that trailer that we can go out, bring into the AAV where we have cover, hit the button, and it detonates it because there's a blasting core, a primer charge that runs all the way through that cable. But we train as if the launch has broken that cord. So we have a satchel charge that is primed and ready to go. By primed, I mean there's blasting caps, electric blasting caps in it. I have a reel of 150 feet of wire and a clacker. If you don't know what a clacker is, watch any Vietnam era movie where they have to blow up a claymore mine. They squeeze this thing together and it generates an electrical charge and sets off the blasting cap. You can Google the clacker if you want a better demonstration of what my weird hand motions was demonstrating. So, when you're the guy who has to go out and do the demo, it's not the lowest man on the totem pole for that one. It is usually the senior guy. So, when I did it, any sergeant who's done it before specifically trains us, do not hand your clacker to anyone. You are the only person authorized to detonate this charge. There's another problem. If you hand the clacker off to someone and they start playing with it and they have the business end of the wire too close to it, it will set off that wire. The charge, static electricity will set off blasting caps. So, we take the reel out with us, set the satchel charge on top of the third block in, haul our ass back, get behind the AV, run the clacker, detonate the charge. We don't hand it off because we don't want to get blown up because some jackass wants to be cool and get to blow up the ton of C4 that is laying across the desert.
To realize that it's the combat engineers that use this thing, okay? There's a mathematical formula to calculate how much C4 you need to blow something up, and you know what every single engineer on the face of the earth will tell you that it is? P. For plenty. They know.
Alright. This is why I'm not allowed to help my children with math. My children doing algebra, I'm like, oh, how come it's X or Y or A or C equals whatever. And I'm like, P is the answer. And they're like, well, what's P stand for? Plenty. So, yeah, my wife has an associate's degree in math, and she tutors the kids in their math. I'm not allowed to. At all.
Excuse. And then we get to my favorite fun fact on the Miklik, because it is obviously military grade, meaning that part on the trailer that's supposed to stop the rope, sometimes that just fucking breaks off and the whole rope just goes...
Oh. The rope isn't the only thing that breaks. The axles. We drug one through the desert, and the axles were seized, so the AAV was just dragging dead weight behind it. And we stopped, set the thing off. We also had the rail that holds the rail right here, if you can see my mouse pointing at it, and this arm or aperture that points at a 90-degree angle. No. 45-degree angle. Because I can do math. P equals plenty. This whole thing ripped off our trailer and went with the rocket. And the 1,750 pounds of danger putty. Which leads into the main reason why I'm doing this video. Alrighty, a few years ago, one of my friends' dad, who is a Vietnam veteran, bought me this awesome scrapbook. Where I have put my photos, some of my photos, from my military exploits in. So that I can keep them for posterity, so that when I get dementia and I can't remember anything, well, I have this. So, there's one of my platoons. There's me playing with a small gun, me in front of a tank, me driving a ship, ordnance that was dropped on the desert in 29 Palms, black and white pictures, and the stupid thing. Alright, so we're going back here a little bit. Alright, so this is the physical picture of a ton of C4 in a crater. Now this gets better. So that above it is what a shape charge looks like if it's turned upside down and pointed into the sky. Alrighty, this is posted on my Facebook as well. And over on the side there, you can see comments from my platoon mates who were looking for this particular picture. They didn't realize that I had the only copy of it. Now, this is where the story gets fun. We were doing a night shoot on this particular training exercise at 29 Palms, and I had mentioned in the earlier clip that our military grade equipment broke. So we did not have a trailer that we could launch this last line charge off of. So we decided to do what we call a junk shot, which is where we take all of our trash, put it underneath some explosives, some, just a little, just a ton, and incinerate it. So that is my assistant squad leader on the left with no helmet on, standing on a pile of C4. In one of the Fatelectrician's other videos, he mentions how engineers are super nonchalant with danger putty and will like juggle it and be like, nah, it's not primed. Yeah, they're priming it right now. Now, he does that whole disclaimer thing. This was done on a safe range by trained professionals. Yeah, we're the trained professionals. I took the picture. We are the trained professionals who detonated this on a demolition range in 29 Palms. I want to reiterate that at 19 years old, 20 years old, I was considered a trained professional in doing that. Keep that in mind. Detonations like this are done by 20-year-olds. 18 to 25 is usually about the age range where you're doing this kind of stuff. Just keep that in your nugget, all right? And I don't know why I'm wearing my headset. Just have it, okay? So over here, my platoon mate took a picture of the crater afterwards. Now, alright, so during the night fire, my platoon commander was on the radio because that night, we were sharing the range with the snipers. And they had finished their shoot, their use of the range, and called the range in cold. What that means is we're done for the night and we're going night-night. Which means there shouldn't be anything going on the range. So my platoon commander was on the radio after the third charge had been detonated, which I think was the foo gas. Don't ask what the acronym stands for. But it involves a 55-gallon drum of diesel gasoline, a bunch of styrofoam, and laundry detergent. And a couple of pounds of C4 underneath it to propel it into the air. You do the math. Or use your imagination as to what that creates. So, he's on the radio. We are 300 yards away at a minimum safe distance. And I say that in air quotes because minimum safe. I have detonated Bangalore torpedoes at the end of the 12-foot lead wires of an electric blasting cat. So, minimum safe range for what we were detonating. Yeah. So when I was trying to take a picture of the detonation of that ton of C4, the nighttime became daylight. It was like looking at the sun. It hurt my eyeballs. I had to turn away. My skin was burning. I didn't get a sunburn, but I sure as hell thought I was going to. I felt stuff bouncing off of my helmet. I realized that the shockwave had launched rocks, like projectiles, and they were skimming across the top of the ground over the wash that we were standing in that was over our head. It was tall enough to be over our head, but the rocks were coming in, bouncing off of our helmets and kept going. And they were going so fast that we barely felt it. Alright. I better take that off. Now, my platoon commander was in the process of getting his ass chewed by the battalion commander, a full bird colonel, for lighting off after we'd been called in cold. But it gets better than that. The town of 29 Palms called the base commander and asked if they were testing nuclear weapons because they saw the mushroom cloud. They're pretty far away. This place is out by Joshua Tree National Park. 29 Palms is a giant impact zone where we just blow stuff up. So, yeah, that was that amusement. Alrighty, so I reached out to the Fatelectrician, got his permission to make this video, and I will put a link to the original video, if I didn't already say that. Also, I'm an artist. I enjoy making art. If you could follow my Ko-fi account, don't have to buy anything if you don't want to. I just appreciate it if you followed my Ko-fi account, because that actually gets me more exposure and helps the algorithm so that I have a chance to sell my artwork. I don't feel like doing sponsored videos, so it is my beer money, and I like to work for my beer money.